Hello and welcome back to Speed Demon Painting. We've got some amazing news coming for Dystopian Wars as a new edition is about to be launched. Now we've been seeing quite a few of these sort of teaser blog posts from Warcradle Studios about potential changes that are coming to the game, and I'm sort of want to make two separate videos about this month's releases because there's two big ones. There is the Alliance coming for Armored Clash, but there's also Dystopian Wars 4, and I sort of want to make a separate video recapping all the different things that can be found in Dystopian Wars 4, so those two don't sort of steal each other's thunder. Now let's start things off with what you can actually buy for the new edition release. The first thing you can get is a Rules and Gubbins set, which is something new for Dystopian Wars, but people who play other Warcradle Studio games will know this concept. Gubbins set are basically boxes that have all the little gaming aids that you will need to play your game. So it will come with a selection of dice, with critical damage dice, and we know these already, veteran players have these. But it also comes with the other stuff you will need to start playing DB4, which is Victory and Valor deck. You will get the Dystopian Age token punch board, but also the Dystopian Wars specific token punch board. In addition, you're also getting some plastic sprues. You get the measuring tools and objective sprue. That's the same one that they've been using in Armored Clash so far. You get your version of the rulebook, of course, and there is this new multi-faction add-on sprue. Now, taking a close look at the Victory and Valor deck, it's immediately apparent that both the Victory and Valor text is the same way up. So a lot of people seem to prefer that, although it's sort of a 50-50 split, I suppose, but they've gone for this option for this version. You will also notice that the cards go from 1 to 12 instead of 1 to 60 like the old deck, and that's because, well, there are some elements from Armored Clash that are being sort of taken over by Dystopian Wars 4th edition, and that's actually a very good thing, because I really like the deck interaction that a player has during Armored Clash a lot more. The other thing you will be getting in this Gubbins box is the Dystopian Age token punch board, so you get all of these different unit statuses, along with, on the backside they have the damage trackers on them as well. We know this one from Armored Clash 2. What is completely new though specifically for Dystopian Wars is the aptly named Dystopian Wars token punch board. This one has multiple effects in there, critical damage markers, which are the same symbols as you have on the dice, but they sort of can now be placed next to your ships. There is also a new version to track disorder, because that's more of an incremental thing, and I'll discuss this in a bit more detail later in the video, but yep, you get those two, along with a minefield marker which can be flipped to become a wreck marker as well for use during game. Measuring tool and objective marker is now new. There is no more blast marker used in the 4th edition, although do not worry, Empire players, torrent weapons are still a thing in game. You'll still be having flame gouts going over the enemy fleet as well. You don't have to worry about that. It's just no longer resolved with a template. You will of course also get the rulebook, which is the 4.0 version. I'm lucky enough to have read a proof reading copy of it. It's an absolute stunner, I can tell you that much. But yeah, really looking forward to get this product in my hands in print. And then finally there is the multi-faction add-on sprue, which was teased a while ago. These feature the new plastic heavy gun batteries and normal gun batteries, so they all look sort of the same for different factions, but not entirely, because you can adjust the top of it, the ammunition type, with these different things at the top to sort of make them look more like your faction. And you'll also be getting a bunch of different generators, the generic ones that every faction has. And of course, very present on all of these sprues are the different SRS tokens. Now these SRS tokens aren't exactly completely new, all 8 factions are covered on here, and you might have them already and think, why on earth would you want to put them on this sprue then? Well, this is actually quite exciting, because that means that they can take those SRS tokens, which took up a lot of sprue space to be honest, and move them over to this sprue, meaning a lot of sprue space is now available on many of the original sprues for Dystopian Wars. And it was discussed briefly on the Discord as well, that this actually gives some extra space for the design team to update the original sprues to give you just more options. And that's really cool, because then veteran players actually have a reason to buy some of the new products or some of the new plastics that you're getting with new flagships without sort of feeling like, oh, I'm getting stuff yet again as well. So that's a really cool way of handling things. And it's not the first time that they have retooled their metal molds, so we're going to see probably a new wave of that in the future. And I suppose that's sort of the main takeaway of all of this, because they really want to make a smooth transition for older players, veteran players, but also have a nice and easy way to get into it for starting players. And to that end, they will start releasing one-player factions sets again for all the 8 factions, but you don't necessarily have to buy them thanks to this release. Always nice to see to sort of have a veteran-friendly edition change as well. That's something almost refreshing at this point, because should you not need some of the stuff that is in the gubbins box, there's always an option to buy the rulebook separately, and the Victory and Valor deck is also available separately if those are the only 2 things that you are interested in. So if you're a veteran player of Dystopian Wars and you also play Armored Clash, a lot of the stuff in the gubbins box isn't really relevant for me, especially if I'm willing to wait to see what these updated sprues are like, and I'm definitely looking forward to that for all of my factions. I can now in this release just opt for the book and the cards please, and I'll get the rest later down the line once those starter sets come. And that was sort of also hinted at on Discord for how the new system would go. All of the factions would be getting launch orbats, which is similar to an index system that we know from Games Workshop. But those launch orbats are going to be revisited later down the line, and I can imagine with an accompanying one-player starter set for it. So gradually all the rules are tweaked as feedback rolls in and everything, so that's really nice to see. They've got a plan to make the transition smooth. You can continue playing with your old models, and you only need a couple of things and you're good to go for this 4th edition. When your faction actually drops, you can look forward to some revamped plastics, because, well, a lot of the elements can now be found on those generic sprues that we just mentioned that is just faction agnostic. Because if you check the blog website, there's actually a bunch of different articles that they go into more detail about what they thought didn't work quite as well with the old edition and what they would like to see changed in the 4th edition. Going through all of them in detail would take way longer than I would want to for this one video, but suffice to say that a lot of the things that they mentioned are just things that made me go like, yeah, that was a bit the case with Dystopian Wars 4, and it would be really cool to see that cleaned up a bit. Especially the way things now work in terms of damage and disorder are really promising, because it looks like the game is going to be a lot less about blowing units apart in the first 2 turns, with a defending player actually having options to keep models on the tabletop if they want to, in a crippled state, but with some serious downsides obviously. If you leave a model limping like that in your unit, there's a good chance that he's just going to be so disruptive to the unit's functioning that it might just cost you your entire action if you're not careful, so do so at your own risk. But it also means that some ships do get to sort of stay on the board, and you can't just one-shot something off the table because, well, if there's nothing left, why not take the risk of just trying to do something with that crippled unit? Another thing that's going to be typical for this edition is ships being more dedicated to doing one particular thing really well. Pressing an attack is one thing, but also stuff like boarding actions. You need to sort of be specialized for that in this new edition, and you can't just leave your regular crew behind to go and invade another ship. You need dedicated marines. Similarly, if you want to ram something, you can, but it's probably a really bad idea if you're not doing it with a ship designed for that purpose. And finally, one massive revamp on this whole new edition is the way that short-range squadrons work. The high lethality of the game was always a thing, and quite often when a new player started like, oh, this is really aggressive, is there a way to tone it down? A lot of people started recommending, oh, you just need to put a lot of terrain on your board and that will fix the thing. It doesn't. It just makes short-range squadrons king of the hill if you play on a battlefield like that. And that means that they are now reworked to provide a lot of different critical hits to your opponent's ship without necessarily damaging it to such an extent that it can just be used as yet another alternate attack option, which is really, really cool to see, and can't wait to see how that pans out. It's a very cool and interesting read to go through all of it because, well, the main idea was to speed up the game, maybe tone down the lethality of it a bit, and it's really cool to see in these blog posts how they try to achieve all of that. There are also articles about limiting the amount of actions ships can do, and I kind of agree with that. I mean, if you were a veteran player and you were able to sort of squeeze every last bit out of an activation of a unit, it quite often left absolute devastation in its wake. And while that was definitely good play and fun to do, if you're somebody who was not expecting it, it was sort of a feels bad moment to just see one unit decimate a quarter of the opposing fleet. In addition to having, sort of as a gameplay consequence, of one player playing for 15 minutes on end while the other guy just sits there and takes it, that's not a great experience. That sort of starts leaning into an I go, you go game system, and that's really not what you want to see with alternating activations. And those are some really cool things about this edition as well. Repairs aren't just going to be a thing that happens automatically. You're going to have to use some of your limited amount of actions should you want to do so. So dealing damage to your opponent is going to feel more meaningful because, you know, you might not just have it automatically repaired away anyway at the end of their activation. You're going to be able to suppress units that way. All in all, stuff that really makes me excited about this new edition. So yeah, we can expect to have this new edition in our hands at the end of September, and I can't wait to get my bolts on the table and start playing and experimenting with it. I hope you do as well. Remember, if you like this video, like and subscribe for any future videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, bye!